Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Chin Chat, or rather ChinWag. Call it a Chin Chat. It's the 29th of August 2022. I'm Richard Vobes. Thanks for joining me. Today, I want to ask you, it's my father's birthday as I record this. He's no longer with us. He's dead. Died a few years ago. I mentioned this in the Naked Englishman podcast, which I record. And just on that note, you probably can't really see this in great detail. This is a very nice glass mug that Mark Burgess. I have got a webcam here. Will this switch to the webcam? Let's just see. How do I do that? No. I can't seem to find out how to switch that back to the webcam. But anyway, glass mug that lovely Mark Burgess sent to me. It's actually inscribed with... Oh, that's why. Hang on, let's see. Does that go to... Yeah, it does. There we go. Look at this. Hang on. It's inscribed with, I don't know if you can read that, Naked Englishman podcast or something. Naked Englishman, first coffee of the day. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. Let's just switch that back off. There we go. Little self-indulgent there. Nice to have a cup of tea. The Naked Englishman is a podcast that I do daily, first thing in the morning. It's a sort of behind the scenes of a YouTube creator and also the story of my life, where I talk about relevant things that are either going on personally or indeed my thoughts on other issues. And sometimes I get into a bit of a rant, and sometimes it's just a bit of a mumble. It's a very raw podcast. Anyway, today, I mentioned in the Naked Englishman this morning that it was my father's birthday, and as I say, he's no longer with us. And he would have been about 85 or 86. And he died a few years ago. And the thing I want to talk about today is, do you believe in ghosts or life after death? Do you believe that, not so much life after death, do you go on to something? I'm not so much want to talk about that. It's more, do you believe that people can come back from the dead? Ghosts. Do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe that there are such things as, presences in life? When my father died, in fact, friends and people I knew have died, as happens in life, people you know, and tragically they are taken away from you and they die. And over time, I have thought to myself, I wonder if they'll come back. Wonder if, because people talk about this and people relate experiences, or you hear of people who have an ability to talk with the dead or see things. The lovely Julia sees cats, dead cats, spirit cats, I suppose she would call them. She claims, and I've no reason to disbelieve her, though I struggle with it, that she sees a cat that used to live here that I know of, that I can't remember, what did we call it? Sophie, the cat was called. A black cat. And she says every now and again, it just catches her unaware. She says, oh, golly, there's a black cat over there. It must be Sophie. And she's sort of following me around, or she's here. She was an adopted cat that my neighbour had. And they got a kitten. And then they didn't bother with the older cat. And so we, with the children, adopted Sophie. And then, of course, I don't know what happened to her. I mean, she died, obviously, but I can't remember the circumstances. Wasn't that she was... We had a cat once when I was a kid. My house in Horsham backed onto a farm, and the cat was found with her tongue hanging out, and she'd been run over by a tractor. Not a pleasant way to go. She was called Snowy. That's a different cat. Anyway, Julia says that she sees these cats, or this cat, and she often sees sort of weird presences in places. My friend Mark English can go into a room and say, oh, there's a heavy sense of something, in my head is heavy, I feel something in this room. And he's got friends, he does a little bit of the paranormal investigation, and he's got friends who are mediums, and I imagine he's got some friends who are rares as well, medium rares. Anyway, bad joke. And they claim that they sense spirits and things. But I don't have any sense. When my dad died, I felt this would be the time. He was somebody who, my mum and my dad are both dead, and I thought when my dad went first and then my mum, and I felt when my dad went, if anyone was going to contact me, have any reason or for me to feel that they were there, it would be my dad. And then when my mum went, I thought most definitely she would contact me. But none of them have. I've never felt that they're in the room with me. I've never sort of, that sort of thing in the corner of your eye, seen, oh, that's my mum, that's my dad. I've never had that sense. I've never, as a younger man, I've always, gone into haunted houses, so-called, or derelict places, or places where there's history. Where the Romans were based, or the Normans, in a castle or anything like that. Never have I ever had a sense. Would love to think that happened. It's a very romantic idea that all the millions and billions of people who've been on this planet, that some of them at least still roam around, or that they can come back, or that they can talk to you. Or befriend you. I mean, I guess it would be everybody's dream to have a friendly ghost that could sit there and talk to you. I mean, it's such a romantic idea, but to me it's just fanciful. I've never experienced, in my 50-something years that I've been on this planet, I've never experienced it. And as you get older, I don't know. I know that they say when you get older, you get closer to God because you're closer to death. And maybe as you get closer to death, you start to think, oh, blimey, I better believe in the Almighty. Now, I'm not talking about religion specifically in today's video. It's not about whether you're religious or not. But as you get older, perhaps you become wiser. Perhaps you become more open to things. Perhaps you've been around a bit. But also maybe you get closed off to those things which just seem more totally ridiculous because life's experiences teach you different things than what you read. I would love to think that there were spirits, ghosts, the dead. I would love to think that there was, good spirits, good ghosts, not nasty one. I don't want to feel that there is an evil presence sitting on my shoulder ready to sort of hack my head off at the slightest chance it gets. But I don't feel any of that. Excuse me whilst I have a slurp of coffee. But do you? I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying, to me, I don't get it. I mean, I completely believe my friend Mark when he walks into a room, as he has done on many occasions that I've been with him, or Julia. And she said, oh my goodness, I feel something here. I have no reason to doubt that they're doing this. I mean, because I don't get any sense of that, because I'll walk into somewhere and I go, no, I'm not getting that. It feels that they're putting it on. But I have no reason to think that they're putting it on. Why would they? Why would they try to do that to me when they know I don't get any sense of this? So I totally believe they're feeling something and they're sensing something. But because I don't sense it, I can't fully believe that it is what they say it is. And it may well be. I'm not criticizing them in any shape or form. Of course I'm not. Everybody experiences the world completely differently. Everybody looks at something. I mean, it's that thing, isn't it? It's that thing is what I think of is blue or red or green. Maybe people see those colours completely different. You ever thought about that? I'm sure you have. You just sort of thought, well, what I see, do they see a square shape in the same way as I see a square shape? I'm sure we all do. But you don't know unless you could get into that person's head and actually see the world around them in the view that they have. We all look at life differently. We all pick up different things. If I'm with Julia, for example, I'll be picking up certain things and we'll discuss something at the end of a walk. And she said, oh, didn't you see such and such? I said, no. And then I'll say, well, didn't you see so? No. We're all, we can be in the same thing and perceive things incredibly differently. So I'm certainly not saying these things don't happen. It's just they don't happen to me. And in many ways, I'd love them to have. I'd love to experience that. I'd love to have that sense of the extra perception, if that's what it is. But it may not be, of course. To me, it's not so much extra perception, it's fanciful perception. It's imagining there's something there when there really isn't. That's how it is to me, but to them it may be different, and they may have the truth, and I don't get the truth, Probably that way round, by the way. It's probably that I'm more ignorant and unable to feel these things because of who I am and why I am and all of that, being a miserable sod that I am and closed off. Maybe I'm closed off. That's what people, well, you're closed off, Rich. I don't know how you open yourself up. You sit there and go, well, I'm open now. Let me see it. Come on. Bring it on. Oh, no, it doesn't work like that. It's like, well, why doesn't it work like that? I once went on a ghost evening and recorded it as a podcast with a bunch of people who set themselves up as ghost hunters. And we stayed in this supposedly haunted house where things had been seen. And the lady there who was the medium was in communication, amazingly enough, with people who were dead. Oh, hello. Yes. And I would say, well, let's get some... Can you not ask them, what's their surname? Where did they live? They're sort of going, oh, yeah, where do you... She would get this sort of it's all the same, these mediums. I mean, this is why I find it very difficult. They were able to elicit some information, but never anything specific that would actually, you'd be able to go to the record and identify them. Unless, of course, these mediums are completely charlatans and they've already looked that bit up and they've gone, oh, yes, this is Catherine of Aragon. She's 28 and she comes from 32 Acacia Avenue, in case you want to look it up. And it's, but it's those that go, I'm hearing something. Does the name Frank mean anything to anybody? And half a dozen people in a hall, one of these spiritualist things, and they all put their hands out and go, yes, I know Frank. Oh, yes. I'm getting asparagus. And suddenly all the hands go down by one. My Uncle Frank used to eat asparagus. Actually, he used to grow it. Yes, it's him. He's got a message for you. Oh, really? Yes, he says, do you wear heavy coats? Well, I do when it's raining and it's cold. Yes. He's saying you need to get a new one. Well, I've just got a new one. Yes, he's saying that the one you've got is no good. It's not going to work for you. You need to get a better one, more high quality one. May I suggest an Adidas one or even a Nike one? They're quite good. Or Mountain Warehouse are pretty good. Is that what he's recommending? Yes. He says, actually, if you talk to me after the show, I can get you a good discount on one. And you just think, yeah, this is all rubbish. This is all crap. But people are willing, aren't they, to believe in this? They're willing to believe that their relations are coming back. They may have died without those last important things that they wanted to say to one another. I love you. I appreciate you. I wish I'd spent more time with you. All of this. Or they're looking for guidance in their life, and they think that their mothers or their fathers or their uncles and their granny, or the butler who served you for 25 years, or the gardener at the end, or the gnome that used to sit there as a piece of concrete, will come back to you in some form and guide you and help you and take you forward in life and show you where the treasure is buried. And people are just very susceptible to that. I think it's a natural human trait. But is it really true? Is it just that people want to believe this, and so they do? I mean, you could take that with religion and all these things. Is it really that people want to believe? They have this comfort thing around them that actually you're not just alone on this planet. And it's you and everybody else and circumstances. And, when you're dead, that's it. You're there as this lost spirit floating about going, well, I don't know anybody. There's no one to welcome me into the spirit world. I mean, I don't know, To me, I more and more am beginning to sort of think that when you're dead, that's it. It's just, you're not aware of anything when you were not alive before you were born. Why would you know anything that after you're born? What would be the, why would you? And of course, unless of course you just doing that thing where you jump from person to person in reincarnation. I think there's all these things. They're amazing concepts, aren't they? It's like time is an amazing going back in time. If only you could go back in time, you could meet yourself. You could meet your mother and say, don't marry him, marry her. All these things, that the great concepts, aren't they? That we have, the fact that you could all alter things or have extra perception of life over somebody else and go, do you know what? You're a ghost. Yeah. Do you know what the lottery numbers are next week? I wonder if you could just tell me that. Oh no, not supposed to do that. Okay, fair enough. I don't know. Maybe you have seen something. Maybe you're not sure whether you've seen something. Maybe you have had an interaction with somebody. I haven't. And so it all seems just implausible to me. Of course, if I woke up in the night and my dad was at the end of my bed, or I looked out the window and my mum was staring in at me, or many of the people that I've known, the sad people who have accidentally died, one of my bosses, for example, died young, that I helped set up a business with many years ago, Barbara. Many times when I've been driving and I said, Barbara, are you there? Are you out there? Come and sit in the car with me and let's have a chat. It may not work like that, I know, and maybe I'm being incredibly ignorant or over-expecting it. But I've not, to my knowledge, ever seen any ghost, any dead person, any person who has passed over. What a horrible expression that is. Who died. Let's just put the cards on the table. Passed over. People who've died. I've never met a dead person. I've never sensed a dead person. I've been in awe of places where, like churches and standing on graves, or in a battlefield or something like where people have been slaughtered or have died or whatever. In awe of it and a sense of reverence for it, but not a sense that actually they're there. Have you, though? That's what I want to know. That's the ChinWag for today, here on a bank holiday Monday, on the 29th of August. Have you seen a ghost? And what was it like? And do you really believe it? Or do you just want to believe it? That's the question I'm asking. We're going to have a look at some of the comments that we've had from the previous episodes before we finish. Let me have a slurp of coffee. Okie doke. Different holidays. Sylvia Littlewolf says, in relation to that episode, when I go on holiday, I want to explore the area I'm in, normally by walking around and absorbing the atmosphere and taking a lot of photos and videos. I don't like crowds of people, so I avoid cities like the plague and prefer to stay in a rural setting. Also, I'm weird, so I create a Word document listing interesting places that I would like to see in the area. I don't know why that's. I mean, people will make lists and go, I must look at the Vatican, and we must look at the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and we must go to the Eiffel Tower. They're not all in this little city in Portugal, Livramento, I appreciate, but these are the things I want to see. But no, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It sounds absolutely perfectly normal. Thank you for that. We were talking about watching television, and Joe Gaming Girly says, might have been the Atari ST computer. Yes, that's what it was. Did I not mention that? Is that not what I said? I play video games, of course, but not for many hours, and I make sure that I go out for a walk. I remember my first console, my parents did not want to get one. They were worried that we kids would never go out, go on adventures again. Nothing changed. We still go out. Oh, well, there we go. And I still enjoy the same today, enjoy video games and going out for long walks. So there are some people who do not seem to have a sense of reality, though, isn't it? It's true, I think. I may be wrong. But there are plenty of people who play games, and that is their world. The only people they know are those they've met online in the games. They're almost socially unable to mix with people. I'm not saying whether that's good or bad. I'm just saying there are people who are a bit like that. Watching television, we were talking about, and outdoors loving Kent girl says, "You do make me giggle, Richard." Fantastic. Love to make people giggle. That's part of one of life's richest things. If you can make people laugh, so good. You've been overweight up until very recently. Remind me of those born-again Christians who turn it all round and then preach to others whilst conveniently forgetting that they were in the situation for many years. Just my opinion. Don't shoot the messenger. The videos on here are the evidence of the obesity. I wouldn't say that I was obese. I wasn't overly large, but I wasn't obese by any means, and I think that's a very poor argument, bless you, outdoors-loving Kent girl. I never considered myself terribly overweight, but I knew that when I was younger, I used to go and do extra work, and I used to be in the bill, and I wasn't large, but I would eat a chocolate bar every time I filled up with petrol and drive up to the studios. And I realised what I was doing, so in the end I cut that out and I started to lose weight. Often you don't know that you're overweight, and I grant that, but I've always kept myself fit because I've juggled and unicycled, balanced on a walking globe, laying on a bed of nails, and I used to go down to the gym in order to buff myself up to lie on a bed of nails on a corporate circuit, and then pick the largest bloke, say a 20-stone bloke, to stand on me as I was lying on a bed of nails as part of the routine. I would do a danger show. Anybody who really knows me would know that I'm not overweight, and I mean, yes, it's true that the lens can put on a few pounds. They used to say that in television, didn't they? Oh, yes, the television lens. But I don't know how true any of that is. It probably makes you look a little bit. But I have lost a lot more weight. Julia says I'm thinner than I should be. And but that's because I've cut down eating chocolate, processed foods, and bread. And I think that's really the main thing. I don't eat too much rubbish. I mean, occasionally I'll have the odd biscuit, and occasionally I'll have a piece of cake. Usually I don't buy them, and I now sort of have this strange regime in which I say, look, I'll eat it if I don't buy it, which means I don't go to the supermarket buying crisps and biscuits and cakes and all those sort of little munchy things to get you through the day. I don't bother. I'll eat dates and nuts and those sort of things, which have fat in them, but they don't seem to put any weight in it. So there are videos in which I am overweight, and that's, as I tried to explain before, that was when I was on a medication to have when I lost my eye over a protracted period of 4 years. It was a very bad time in my life. I had 3 cornea transplants, and eventually my eye was removed. And all that time, the doctors wanted to keep feeding me on these medications, this steroid, which bloated me up. But it was not because of a dietary thing. But anyway, anyone's entitled to have a look at those videos and make their own decisions on that. But we were supposed to be talking about television. So what does she say? Watched with my rugby player partner who laughed at your last vlog as you were rather large for many years. Okay, fair enough. I guess people's perception of what large is and what isn't is going to always be different, but, you know, you're entitled, of course, to your views. Anthony Conti says, Richard, correction. Oh, here we go. I said a few minutes ago that the UK TV is lousy. Of course, that's not true at all. I enjoy very much Prime Suspect with Helen Mirren. I have to say I never saw that. The Inspector Morse series, I saw a couple of that, but I got the idea very quickly and I didn't watch very many. And Endeavour, never even heard of Endeavour, so that's fell on. As a young trainee in a Liverpool shipping company, I watched Coronation Street every evening. Well, you're very welcome to watch that. Never watched any of that. Not into soaps, really. This was back in 1963. Oh, right. A good year, I believe. One of the coldest winters, I believe, 63 to 64. And as far as I know, the show is still aired. I think it is. I don't know. Here in Panama, where I now live, my favourite channels are Film and Arts, AMC, whatever that is, Europa, and the Euro channel. fantastic. We have too many cable TV options. Yes, I just don't get time to watch television, I suppose, is my argument. But everyone's entitled to theirs. And Sue Harrison says, we stopped watching TV nearly 2 years ago. Good for you. Years ago. Not that we watched that much anyway. Got fed up with it, wasting our time on it. Yes, I think there is that sense. I mean, I don't know if you're like me. There's so many interesting things in life to do and see. Why spend the time peering at a screen? Watch some YouTube vlogs and that's about it. TV has always been about mind control. I guess it's the same with YouTube as well. Everyone's got a bias, hasn't they? It's just that it's less. It's what am I trying to say? On YouTube, everything's biased. Everyone's got their opinion. And we understand that. We accept it. I think when you accept it, but TV tries to play, we're what with the Ofcom rules and all the bodies that are supposed to make it safe as a thing to watch. And so there's a watershed period and all of that where you don't get any of that, where it's a free-for-all. You kind of accept it's a free-for-all on YouTube. And that what you can see is going to be biased right wing, left wing, centre of the road, whatever it is. Whereas on TV, it sort of pretends it isn't, and yet there's a lurking underneath. And I've worked in television, and I can tell you it's an incredibly backstabbing, horrible industry, full of egos and everybody trying to. The best thing in television, if you ask me, are the technical people, the technicians, the people who do the camera work, the lighting, the electricity. There may well be a bit backstabbing going on in there, but they're the people who are genuine and hardworking and honest. It's not the writers, the presenters, and the actors, and all of that. Oh my God, there's so much. And I've worked in it, and I've been an actor and a presenter and a writer, and I know we're a cesspit of egos and morals and jealousy and all of that. That goes with the nature. But the real hard-working people who get there early and set everything up, the scene designers, the costume designers, the lighting people, the camera people, the gaffer, the best boy, the electrician, the catering, the honey wagon, the toilets people, all of that. They're the heroes. You never really get a mention of those people. They're the best people. Every drama that you watch, these wonderful dramas on television, where you sit, it's, the skill. You look at it, how beautifully something has been shot and how wonderful the scene is and how the continuity is pretty much really on the ball, and the costumes and the hair, the makeup people and all of that, all those people who create that, it's all really good. It's just often it's the content and the acting that is the thing that lets these things down. The story, is what lets them down. Personally, that's me speaking. Mark Burgess, good old Mark Burgess, says, I don't watch television in quite the same way I did back in the 1970s and 80s. I grew up. Now the advent with YouTube and my discovery has enabled me to replace some of the TV viewing that I had to suffer through due to other family members. Well, this is the other thing, is in the old days, you remember you only had one TV and you all sit round the television. It was like a consensus of what do you want to watch, or it was a dictation of what your parents would allow you to watch. Now we can go up there and watch all sorts of stuff on the internet that possibly isn't good for us. So, I don't know. Maybe it's not a good thing to be able to access porn 24/7 if you're, say, a pubescent 15-year-old or 12-year-old getting an idea of what sexual relations is all about from an unregulated and free-for-all thing like the internet. I don't know, but at the same time, do you really want them to regulate it and tell you what you can and what you can't watch? It's a minefield, isn't it? And it's so early days. We don't really know as a human species what screens, even though we've had television since the 1930s, 40s, and cinema. We don't really know in the evolving of the human body over hundreds of thousands of years whether television is really a good thing. And it's an experiment that we're trying, but until, maybe a couple of thousand years where we get a sense of, actually, are screens really good for us? We don't know. Ingram Cars says, stop watching television per se about 12 years ago, mainly due to the increasing negativity, sensationalism, and telling me what to think. Totally agree with you there. That's all the elements that would put me off and has put me off. I have, however, thoroughly enjoyed watching a new series of All Creatures Great and Small. I've not seen it, not heard it. I don't know who's in it. I remember the original series with Christopher Timothy as the main character and the other supporting actors who were whose names now immediately escape me. The actor who was Doctor Who for a while, who I met when I did some extra work and had to drive in a vintage car on a series of Campion, whose name now escapes me. It's eluding me as ever it does. To me, it encapsulates viewing pleasure, escapism without violence and bad language, just a joy, kindness and laughter. I guess there are going to be some programs on TV that are still wonderful and joyous to watch. It's just that it's such a, for me, it's a myriad of, or it's a maze, let me put it, of other rubbish that you've got to get to. And television was that sort of thing that it's on. People just came home, didn't they? And they would just switch it on as company. Do people do that with YouTube? Maybe they do. Maybe they do that with screens and they do it with Netflix and Sky and all the other things. I don't know. Outdoors Loving Kent has come back with another comment who really has it in for me. Richard, you were overweight for a very long time going by your channel. Have you got it in for me? What's the matter with you, woman? What was the turning point for you? You obviously never acted on it or addressed your weight issue for many. Have you got a problem with weight? I'm talking about obese people who are, grossly fat. That's what I'm talking about, not people who are sort of in the... It depends what you call... I mean, everyone's going to have a personal idea of what they call weight, overweight and obesity, aren't they? There may be the BMI. Is it the BMI? Your BMI? I don't know what it is. So what you consider me to be overweight, I may have been carrying a little extra. That may be to what I am now. But I couldn't have done the things that I did. I stripped down to some shorts and used to lie on a bed of nails, and I used to juggle, and I was very active, ride on a unicycle, very active. So I'm not quite sure what videos you're referring to. You'll have to point them to me. And the early channels, I'm walking about a hell of a lot. You do a lot of walking. But maybe you're... comparing me as I'm now much older, for one thing, and my metabolism has changed. I don't know. But you've certainly got it in for me, Outdoors Loving Kent, and I'm sorry that you have. Finally, then, watching television, Peter Abraham says, getting rid of my TV license was the best thing I ever did, as well as my TV package. Bless you. Good for you. I do watch TV on the catch-up on apps that don't require a license, as well as enjoying my favourite YouTube subscriptions on a smart TV. I now see the license as outdated. I agree with you there, just like the radio license many years ago. There are far too many unsavoury, trash, cheaply made TV programmes, I totally agree with you there, by production companies that should know better. Yes, we're now living in a 24-hour TV culture, unlike when I was younger, when you had to wait until midday. There was also the national anthem at the end of the British broadcasting. What really made up my mind was the overexposure of the pandemic, and we saw the media in a damaging way to our society. I do love a good movie and enjoy a British sitcom for escapism on rainy days. It's just so much nicer to get out and about rather than wasting quality time behind a screen. Totally agree with you on all of that. And yes, the pandemic really showed the mainstream media for what a nanny state and mind-controlling state that they wanted to be, and it gave them that power to tell us all what to do. It's interesting, though, now, of course, all of that, you must lock yourself down, you must wear a mask, all of that has now come out as being absolutely the wrong thing. And I think mainstream media and the governments who've been mandating all of this, and even the vaccine, have got egg on their face, have made the mistake, and they don't want to admit it because what they did in such George Orwell type territory, 1984, was so wrong, so terribly wrong. But they just want to sort of put their head in the sand and say, well, we didn't do it. And yet, the truth is falling through the fake sieve, and we are beginning to learn the mistakes they made. And they will have to own up in the end. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about totally different. Do you believe in ghosts? Have you ever seen a ghost? Do you think that they exist? Or are you like me? Never sensed a thing, never had a dead parent or relation come back to you, never seen or sensed anything. And do you think it's all a load of rubbish and just a big con? I'd be interested to know. Put them in the comments. Let's find out. See you next time. Bye for now.